Today we're going to talk again about the Fujifilm X-T3. Welcome back, guys. This is Dylan Golby, photographer here in Seoul again, and I'm back to give you my final thoughts on the Fujifilm X-T3. I've had it for about a month now, and I didn't want to make one of those videos where I rattle off a list of specs at you and give you my 5-minute impression of the camera where I'm still excited about it. So I thought I'd give it some time, use it in my workflow, use it in my day-to-day shooting, use it for some jobs, and come back and let you know how I feel about it as compared to the X-T2. So this isn't going to be one of those comprehensive reviews where I talk about dynamic range and ISO performance and every little new feature of the camera. There's enough of those. You can go and find those out there. You can look at the spec sheet. What I'd like to talk to you about today is, has this camera been a worthwhile upgrade for me and why? So far I've shot 4 corporate events, 2 family sessions, 1 couple session, and 2 portrait sessions with this camera. So I feel like I've had a good chance to get to use it in my day-to-day work, but I've also carried it with me everywhere and done my personal work with it for this month. So I feel like now I can actually talk to you about this camera, what it is and how it's different from the X-T2. As you guys know, it has this new sensor that everybody's been talking about, this X-Trans4 that's got PDAF sensors all over it. It's 2 megapixels, more resolution than the X-Trans3, so you've got that little bit of extra detail and all that wow. What that really means is that you've got much faster readout from the sensor, and the autofocus is significantly better than the X-T2, with a few caveats. So if you're using the newer fast zooms with the linear motors, you know, the 50 to 140 or the 16 to 55, you'll see a little bit of a difference in just how quickly they acquire focus, how confidently they acquire focus. You'll see a little bit of a benefit in tracking. However, the biggest benefits that I've seen with this camera have been with the older lenses. So for me, I like to shoot with my 16mm 1.4, my 23 1.4, my 35 1.4, and my 56 1.2, sorry. And those lenses have never been the fastest to focus on the Fujifilm systems, particularly when you had something like the X-T1. They were, you could wait for them to focus. You could sort of count it as they were focusing on your fingers. With the X-T2, they got significantly better, but there was still a lot of hunting back and forth before they'd acquire focus, especially in challenging situations. With the X-T3, I found that is all but gone, especially if you're in reasonably good light. Even in dim light, and you can see that in the 2 autofocus comparison videos that I've done, which I'll link for you here. They'll also be down below, so go check those out. But you'll see that even the 35 1.4, which is extremely slow, is a lot more confident, and it will just go and lock on. It doesn't wiggle back and forth anymore, which it did a lot with the X-T1 and even quite a bit with the X-T2. So that's been the biggest benefit for me. And what that means is that I can do things like in my family sessions, I can track children running at f1.4 now with face detect on, which is fantastic. And the other benefit of actually having that face detect is that it now works all over the frame because you have PDAF points all over the frame. So you don't have to worry about your subject straying in and out of that box of PDAF sensors in the middle anymore. The camera will continue to track them. It won't lose them, no matter where they move around your frames. That's really great. Speaking about the face detect again, that works really, really well now. Even with the older lenses, I've been able to lock onto children's faces and eyes when they're moving around and having a whole lot of fun, and just being able to nail frame after frame in focus with the face detect now, that's a fantastic upgrade. Now, while we're on the subject of continuous tracking, it now has 2 benefits that weren't really possible before, and one of them is that I no longer have to shoot on continuous high to get the camera to maintain focus on. Somebody's honking their horn. I don't know if you can hear that, but I certainly can. I don't have to have the camera on continuous high now and shoot a whole lot of frames to make sure it gets things in focus. You can actually use single shot with the continuous focus, AFC now, and just click frames when you want them, and it will confidently lock on and shoot them for you, which is great. It means I don't have to sort through quite so many frames anymore. The other benefit with this is you no longer have to switch back to single focus when you're working with subjects that are sitting still. So the AFC will now lock onto a moving subject, and when it stops, it will lock quite confidently onto a still subject as well. It won't sort of rock back and forth with the focus. So that's great. It means that when I'm shooting a portrait, if one of my subjects decides to stop moving, I no longer have to quickly switch it into single focus. I can just leave it in continuous focus and be able to keep shooting frames. So that's been a real benefit for me. Okay, so this also works extremely well in video. I've been able to, the X-H1 is pretty good, and the X-T3 is pretty good, but they will sometimes stray from face to face, or if I move out, it won't continue to track me quite so well. But the X-T3 just does that again a little bit more confidently, and I think that is really the main benefit of the new improved autofocus system with the new sensor, is that it is just a lot more confident. You can trust it a lot more. So the X-T3 has a whole lot of additional small sort of features, a whole lot of, you can shoot at 30 frames per second, blackout free now. You don't have to have the grip to use boost mode now with the new processor. It can just be done with one battery in the body. All these things are great. The video upgrades are great, and I'm sure that each one of these is going to be useful for a different kind of photographer. But for me, the main thing that sold me on this was the fact that it's basically an X-T2 with faster autofocus that gives me my primes back for every day, all kinds of shootings. So I no longer have to worry that maybe in a certain situation I didn't bring the right lens or something like that. Just using these works perfectly. So for me, was it worth the upgrade? Well and truly. It's, like I said, just a better X-T2, which is not a bad thing. So for you, I don't know. Really, I would recommend that you get down to your Fuji store and play with it if you're thinking of buying one. See how it might work for your use cases, whether it would be really of any benefit for you to upgrade, because it's not a huge life-changing camera. It's just better in every way, just incrementally better in every way. So, okay, so thanks again for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video, my final video here about the Fujifilm X-T3. If you'd like to see more content, more photography-related content, we're going to be getting back to that next week now that I've finished my ebook with Fuji Love. Oh, so please go check that out. There's a link below to a pre-sale for my new Flash and Fujifilm ebook, which will be covering basically getting a trigger onto the top of your camera, firing an off-camera flash, all the way down to a whole lot of advanced portrait techniques with flash using the Fujifilm system. So if that interests you, please go check that out as well. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching today. If you would like to see more content, as I said, please subscribe, hit that bell icon, make sure that you get the updates for this channel. And if you have any more questions about the X-T3, I will try to answer them for you. Please put them below. Thanks again, guys.